Hello, students. This is Mr. Boulay here to go over an art component to connect to your social studies chapter and unit on the war and independence. So, this project is called Engraving to Create Our National Currency. Let's get into the project. So, in this project, you're going to learn about our paper currency both in its modern form and its historical roots. Your project is going to be to create a faux copper engraving of a historical event that could be used in creating money for our country. So, since 1862, all paper currency for our country has been created by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. There's two locations. The first one was Washington, D.C., and then they started a second one in Fort Worth, Texas. So, to make our paper currency, they use printmaking. They're printing using steel plates that have fine line engravings. These are inked and then pressed against a special kind of paper that has linen built into it. After the imagery is transferred onto the currency, there's a second printing, typographical printing, that includes all the serial numbers and the treasury seals. As I was looking into this information, I found some interesting facts. One is that the expectancy of a dollar bill is only 18 months. That means a lot of money must get destroyed, disappear, something happens to it. So you have to make more money to replace it with. I would say next time you're looking at a dollar, some paper currency, look at the year on it. How old is that money? Another fact is that $22.5 million in paper currency is printed each day, 6 days a week, all year long. That is an insane amount of money that the bureaus are printing every day. That's something else. And over the course of a year, the bureau is going through 4.8 million pounds of paper. Another interesting fact is that all the paper money within our country is actually produced by the Crane Paper Company out in Dalton. I never knew that. I think that's something else. That paper money used in Hawaii and Florida came from Berkshire County. So I need to go visit this Crane Paper Company at some point. But they've been printing it since 1879. So going back in early history, the American colonists, they're still under English rule. They're using currency. They have to buy things. It's a mix. They have French money, they have Spanish money, and of course they have English money being ruled by England. That's something. There's all these different kinds of currency going around. You can't use pesos now. You can only use American currency. Also, coins were used too, but we're really just focusing on paper currency. So by 1775, our country realized we're going into a revolutionary war. We can't use English money anymore. We don't want to be using French and Spanish. We need our own money. So the Continental Congress, they authorized the creation of currency. It was actually Paul Revere who made the first engraving plates. Money at that time was called continental currency. And this little image on the right here, that is, from what I found at least, the first paper money to be printed. So originally, paper money wasn't made by the government. It was left up to banks to make. And banks were making their own money for almost 100 years until 1861. So the money you're looking at here is like original old money, like printed. You can see on the bottom here, 1776. This other one's 1772. Interesting though, if you look closely, it says on both of them, to counterfeit is death. That's extreme, but I guess they really didn't want people, scamming the system and making their own money. Nowadays, I imagine it's super hard to counterfeit money because there's watermarks and special serial numbers in them and little strips in some of them. But back then, maybe it was a little easier to fake the money. Um, but that's something else. Money get better over time. So if these are the examples from state banks and private charter banks, they're making their own money. So depending on where you went, the money looked different. So like you're in Massachusetts, but then you go to Vermont and the Vermont money looks different. But then you travel over to Connecticut and the Connecticut money looks different. And each bank within the state can make it look different. So these are some examples, and I really do think they're very artistic. The one on the left, created in Lebanon Indiana, the one on the right from Vineland, New Jersey. And look at the imagery. I mean, real detailed, beautiful pictures. The numbers are worked in there. I mean, I think our money today looks good too, but I don't know. I feel like it's more artistic. This early country, our founding money here. The one on the left is from Bismarck, North Dakota. The one on the right from Butte, Montana. Lots of imagery in these. They're really something special. Um, let's see, one to the left, Raleigh, North Carolina, and then I got a good Massachusetts example from Lowell, Mass. And you can see that like these are telling stories. Like there's a lot of information to be found looking closely at this money. All right, so eventually in 1863, Congress authorized the creation of national currency. They couldn't have all these separate banks making their own money. We want one money. So depending on everywhere you go is using the same money. So this picture here is from Salmon Chase. That was our Secretary of the Treasury. Back in the day, they needed imagery for money. So it's almost like a big art contest. I pulled this quote off the internet. It says, "To artists, engravers, and others, designs for national currency notes are hereby invited of the denominations of 5, 10, 20, and so on." It was, a free for all. You could, if you're an engraver, you're an artist, you can submit your images, and maybe you got chosen to have your image printed on national currency across the whole nation. That's pretty wild. The only directions that were given was the imagery should be original, and that the designs should be national in character. They said the final decision would draw heavily on the use of historical American images from the Capitol Rotunda. So we're talking Washington, D.C. I have been there, but I don't remember the rotunda. That looks pretty epic on the inside. Paintings all around this round room. I guess the motivation is so that educationally, the money would circulate images depicting important scenes from American history. So, looking closely, let's look at this one. This is from 1875, $10 bill. I focused on his image to the left. Look at it, it shows Benjamin Franklin doing his kite experiment with electricity. Flew a kite, had a little key on it. Electricity could travel down the string. I guess that was part of our history, that we were working with electricity, so they put it on this $10 bill. On the back is a Spanish explorer, though, De Soto, going across the country. I guess he's the first European to see the Mississippi River. But again, look at this money. It's beautiful. A lot of, very artistic. So your art project. You're going to engrave an image into a copper plate. You're acting like it's going to be used to create our national currency. This is where you're going to want to include an important piece of American history into your design. Look through your social studies book. Mr. Finning and I were talking about chapter 8. What do you want to include? What's some piece of history that you found interesting? For myself to come up with an example, I went with the Stamp Act. I love how our country early on, they pushed back when they didn't like something. They didn't just put their head down and take it. They fought back, and it's crazy to think that Britain just got greedy. Yeah, I get it that they're taxing things that are being sent over the Atlantic Ocean from England. Makes sense. Now they're trying to tax things that Americans are making. Like, why does England need that money? So colonists didn't like it. And so they had the whole thing where they burnt all the stamps up, and they're rebelling against it. Like, you can't stamp, um, you know, put these little stamps that mean I paid my tax on all these things that they're making in the colonies themselves. So I put it there. I got the stamp on there. I got it burning on fire. I put no Stamp Act, because I'm sure they were rebelling. And I got these old school, musket rifles on both sides because colonists were fighting back. So you got to find what's interesting to you. Look through the chapter, look through that book, find some important piece of history that we're just pretending that you're going to engrave it, and that it could, you got your chance that you could have your image on the new national currency. So I would love to see these. This is the first year doing the project. I'm hoping Mr. Finnegan can take some pictures with his cell phone or something of you kids making them. I want to see the final ones. Email them to me. Good luck. I would love to see how these turn out. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the project. Taking history and using it to make some amazing artwork. All right. We'll see you in our class. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.